Hello and welcome to the Cameron and Tia Show. We are so excited to be here with you today. And today we're talking ideal clients, or ICAs, ideal client avatars. And we cannot wait to dive into this big, huge subject. Cam is asking me questions today.
Mixing it up,
Different from our normal on the channel. So let's jump right into this.
Hi, I'm Cameron.
And I'm Tia.
We're so excited that you're here.
Let's jump right into the video.
All right, first question. What is an ideal client?
So an ideal client is that client that you dream of. You wake up excited to go shoot their family session. You always get amazing results because they are looking to you as the expert, as the educator of how to get this awesome shoot. It's how you tailor all your marketing towards one person. This could be an actual person, someone that you've worked with in the past, or it could be this morphed idea of a few different people. But basically what happens is then you have this picture of an ideal client or an ICA in your mind, and you tailor all of your marketing. So your copy, your photos, through an entire filter. So let's say your ideal client is named Melanie. Then everything, when you're going through the portfolio on your website, you look at every photo and you say, would Melanie like this? Would Melanie be attracted to this? Would Melanie hire me after she saw this certain photo? And so that's what an ideal client is and a little bit about how you use it.
Okay, so knowing that, why is it important to have an ICA?
So it's really important to have an ICA so that you can filter things towards that client. If you are just putting anything and everything out into the world, just kind of all the images that you love. Let's say you're a wedding photographer and you put out images that are in barns, you put out images that are in country clubs, you put out images that are in grand ballrooms. The problem that you're going to have is that then Melanie comes to your website and she sees all these photos. She's having this amazing barn wedding that's out in the country. It's going to be lax, it's going to be chill. And so Melanie's looking at it, she's vibing with it, and this could be a bit more unconscious, or this could be like a conversation that she's having with her fiance, but she's looking through those photos and she sees this barn photo and she's like, oh, this could be me. I can picture myself in these photos. And then she sees a slew of country club weddings and huge ballroom weddings. And she says, this is not my vibe. I am not formal. I am not classic. This photographer is not for me. So it's a combined attracting and repelling clients that if you tailor your marketing towards your ICA, you're going to do, which is fabulous. It just means that you're going to attract all of those perfect Melanies that are the perfect fit for you, and you are the perfect fit for them, for their vision, and for their goals for the wedding day. And it means that you're going to repel those that you won't be as good of a fit for, and they won't be as good of a fit for you.
All right, so now that we know why that's important, how would you describe ours?
So our ideal bride's name is Riley. We focus most of our messaging on a wedding client because that's who we're being super selective with. That's where we want to be really intentional about our messaging because that's the majority of our income, a majority of our bookings. And so our ideal bride's name is Riley. Riley has a really intentional wedding. So she typically has a full weekend wedding in that she has like a rehearsal dinner and then they have like an activity afterwards. Maybe it's a bonfire, maybe it's a boat ride. We are in Minnesota, so boats, lake life. That's where that's coming from. We, one thing to note is that it's really important to get super specific with all of the different things. That might not mean that if we get a bride, we get an inquiry and it's like 90% Riley, that's still a super ideal client for us. There's not going to be this perfect fit, but we're creating a perfect fit because we want to target our messaging. So rewind. Riley has a full weekend experience. They might have a brunch the day after the wedding. Maybe everyone's kind of going to a mini destination. So like an hour, 2 hours away, they're staying there. It's also super intentional in the choices that they make. So they're making choices that are personal to them, their relationship with their families, their relationship with their friends. They're having lots of like personal touches done in a really aesthetically pleasing way. So it's not like they're just slapping together beer bottles from random places that they've gone before. They're maybe having growlers that are from significant dates that they had. They might not be super into beer though. That's not a prerequisite. No. Just that's how they approach personal touches. It's not just a gimmicky thing. So yeah, they have lots of personal touches that are intentional, but they're also very intentional in a guest experience. They're not just concerned about the day revolving around them. They're concerned about how can we make this a day that no one has everyone will talk about for forever. A day like no other is what we say. And so it's a wedding like no other. They typically have a band because they want to have their friends having tons of fun. They have lots of extras added for the guest experience. So whether that be games or like a marshmallow spread or a charcuterie boards at cocktail hour, lots of extras like that, and entertainment kind of intertwined in between that, because they're thinking about a day that their friends go, wow, this was the most epic wedding ever. Our ideal bride, Riley, is surrounded by like 6 bridesmaids typically, and then we go into some specifics that are about demographics. So those are all wedding centered. So demographics, our ideal bride and groom, because that is our ideal, though we would be looking at different same-sex marriages or anything like that. But again, we're just narrowing this down to one fine point. They live together prior to getting married. They both have a full-time income. They often have a dog. Riley loves to shop at Anthropologie. She loves to shop at Zara. What else? Anything you can think of that I'm missing?
I don't know. Riley sounds amazing. I do have one question though. Has Riley always been our ideal bride, or has she changed? Has that always been her name?
Yes. So Riley was not named Riley before. Because this is a public video, I'm not going to tell you what that bride was named before. But our previous bride for about like 3 years, our ideal bride, was a mixture of actually a past bride, a friend of ours, and it was mainly those 2 people, 2 past brides actually. So it was a combination of 3 people, and that's how we put together where does she shop, what does she do for a career. The biggest change is that our ideal bride now has a much higher disposable income than our previous bride, which obviously just attributes towards our price point. Our past bride was not into this like full-blown wedding experience. She was just making a lot more choices about having fun with her friends on the day, not necessarily having a wedding like no other. So those are some big shifts in our ideal bride. Is there anything else you can think of?
I think the biggest thing is the intentionality has always been there.
Yes.
It's just now being demonstrated in a different way.
Yes. The other thing that has always been constant between our past ICA and our now ICA is that either the bride or the groom, in most cases it's the bride, but one of our favorite couples ever, it was actually the groom. It's this very specific kind of personality trait that I'm going to describe for you, because I want you to know how intentional Cam and I get about this, because we're looking for this. We're looking for this in emails, inquiry emails. We're looking for this in initial consults. At least one of them typically has a personality that is actually very similar to mine, in that they are outgoing. They are very easy. Lots of other people like to get along with them in like a party setting. Typically, I'm thinking of one of our brides, Jenna, who this was initially based off of. Everybody loves Jenna. Everybody wants to talk to Jenna, but Jenna is so interested in talking to you. Jenna loves to get to know you. She loves to hone in on you, focus on you. And it's just that contagious joy that they're really good conversationalists, and people love to be around them. So typically it's mostly our bride that is that way. She just has this contagious joy, is super personable, but then we do occasionally get a groom, and it's typically only one of them. You know, somebody else is balanced out in that relationship, and that's how relationships work. So in all that, the reason I tell you literally all of those particular details, and we have even more than that, we have this whole full page list where we list out, is because then we're very easily able to target our messaging. When we write an Instagram caption, I'm writing to Riley. I'm not writing to the masses that are our entire Instagram following. There's no point in that. I want to attract more Rileys and more friends of Riley's and more sisters of Riley. So that's why that's super important.
Okay, so that's all amazing. A lot of information. How do you even get started though? It kind of seems a little overwhelming.
Definitely.
Where do you start? What do you do?
I think the easiest way, the end goal needs to be putting pen to paper, and it needs to be writing down boom, 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 listing out everything, where they shop, where they grocery shop, if they have pets, what they love to do. Ooh, our bride runs. She's a runner in the morning, not us. But so things like that. So I think the easiest thing to do is look back in the past and think about clients that you absolutely clicked with. If you worked with that client over and over and over and over, how would that make you feel? So that's the first place. So maybe you write down a list, and maybe you have 4 grooms. Maybe your messaging is targeted more towards grooms, or 3 families that you absolutely love and they come back year after year for you. So that's the first place. Start looking at what are some of the traits, what are some of the like personal details, kind of demographic details about these people. Are there any common threads? Okay, let's write those down. Then think about how we kind of did. We had a friend that we thought, oh my gosh, if we got to shoot this person's wedding, we would die. She is single right now, and she was back then when we were putting this together. But we just imagined, what would her spouse be like? What kind of wedding would they put together? And knowing her personality so detailed, because she's a friend, that allowed us to draw a lot more things into our description. So these could be friends. For a while, we played with actually someone who we didn't personally know. It was kind of a acquaintance of an acquaintance that allowed us to also pull in some other details of like, ooh, I bet they would put together a wedding that was like this. Or maybe you've seen other weddings that other vendors have done. Yeah. Maybe you look into those individuals a little bit and you know, ooh, if I got to shoot that wedding, wow. Or if I had this family that dressed this way that came to this session every single season with me, ooh, I would like that. So find the common threads between all those different sources. So there's kind of like 4 sample sources that I gave you. Find those common threads and start writing those down. And then you might find, oh, I need to tweak this because this one actually makes sense. They wouldn't actually have a marketing job at Target Corporate and only make $25,000 a year. I need to kind of tweak those things to make sense, and then make sense for the crossroads of this ideal client and my brand. That's where we saw our, like, this is disposable income needed to change. It needed to elevate to follow our brand and follow our wedding price point, and follow our family session price point as well. So there's where I would start. It's a tweaking process, but I think it's good to get something down. And then we have kind of this guide on Riley that we constantly reflect back to and look, oh yeah, she has 6 bridesmaids. Oh yeah, she really prioritizes this on the wedding day. We're not quite getting that in our bride inquiries that we've been getting lately. How can we change our messaging? But just so that you get that there, and then you can tweak it. It's not permanent. Nobody sees this. You don't actually put that out into the world, but that sheet can be constantly evolving, kind of like your little stat sheet.
Okay, so then last question, kind of related to this, building on it farther. You have this ideal client, and you've talked a lot about marketing towards them, targeting them, stuff like that. How do you go about doing that?
Yes, so a couple things. When we talk about marketing, there's the copy, there's the words that you're putting out. So Instagram captions, Instagram stories, what you're saying on stories, on your website, obviously, all of that. And then there's also the imagery. So all the photos that you post on Instagram, post on your website, post on Facebook, anything like that. So I think I kind of alluded to this at the beginning, but your biggest filter needs to be, does Riley like this? Is Riley attracted to this? Would Riley want to book me if she saw this certain image? And then the reverse. If Riley saw this, this is not her vibe of her wedding, of her friend group, of her personality at all. So would she be repelled by this? The big thing for us is that Riley is this super joyful bride. We don't shoot a lot of moody, artistic type of things, but that's because that's not the brides we get, and that's not something we're attracted to. Right. But we would never post anything like that. We don't post any serious shots basically anywhere. I can't think of any time that we've had them in our portfolio on our Instagram. We do take that. That's kind of a staple check off on the wedding day of like a little serious, maybe a little serious glancing off side to side. But that's never something that we would outwardly promote because we know that's not something that Riley would see and be like, oh, that's me. I can see me in that photo. So we're constantly using that filter as like an overlying umbrella of, do we post this? Should we make a choice? We typically in the off season that everybody's about to hit, we go through our portfolio again and we use that lens to really correct or to say, ugh, not quite. This venue is a little bit outdated. Riley wouldn't choose something like this right now. So that doesn't make sense. Or Riley wouldn't really interact like this with her mom the way that it is in the photo. So get rid of that. Or a big one is Riley's bridal party doesn't interact this way. Maybe there's a guy in one of the groomsmen photos that's like really going crazy. And you're like, oh, Riley's groomsmen would not do that. Riley's groomsmen in our case probably would do that. But so we have to use that filter to constantly refine. And that's a great to do for over the off season.
For sure. Love it.
Yay. Okay, you guys, that is all we have for you on finding your ideal client. If you have any questions about this at all, let us know, but get started, start morphing those people together, put together your stat sheet, and then start using that as a lens. Until next time, you guys, bye.